Next, this section is meditating on loving kindness, the same as compassion. Thinking about all sentient beings throughout space, thinking that they have been your mother, that they've been very kind to us. Think how they have no happiness, and wishing that they have happiness. At first, imagine your mother from this life, and imagine looking at her lovingly, and think to yourself that you couldn't bear it if she were not happy. And think of all sentient beings throughout, sentient beings in the same way, and with great devotion, supplicate the gurus. Think saying, though all of my kind mothers wish to be happy, they are ignorant of causes, and they experience intolerable suffering, and so forth. Next is meditating on loving kindness, especially for the hostile. Here there are two parts of it. First is first changing the bodily posture, and one is changing the altering the focus for this. And so this is meditating upon all sentient, wishing that they have happiness, and this is, wishing they have happiness is loving kindness, wishing that they be free of suffering is compassion, wish that they remain in happiness is the sympathetic joy. Now he's reciting the transition for the section on the actual practice of meditating on bodhicitta. This is to take all the suffering of yourself and others upon yourself alone. There's many bad karmas, acts that we have committed through beginningless samsara, and likewise there are many acts we have done through the three poisons in this life. In the full ripening of this, may this all ripen upon me, and may the full ripening of all the suffering that other sentient beings have committed, of acts that other sentient beings committed, also ripe upon me, and so forth. And it's a supplication to the Guru then, visualizing Guru Yoga and supplicating the Guru. May all the suffering that results from misdeeds ripen upon me. Think to yourself, I will take upon myself the burden of all the suffering of all sentient beings. Next is thinking, meditating upon the Tonglen, sending and taking meditation for those for whom it is easy. Visualize the Guru Yoga. Then think of yourself, think about your kind mothers in front of you. Think of their cover and meditate upon, do the Tonglen meditation for them. You supplicate visualize Guru Yoga and think and supplicate the Gurus. While remembering the qualities, I supplicate. While declaring the truth, I supplicate. While remembering their kindness, I supplicate. May I supplicate that all the suffering of beings ripen upon me. As I supplicate, may all my happiness go to other beings. And may they now be utterly emancipated. Imagine that all the virtue of doing this practice is given to your mothers and that they achieve Buddhahood. ，Imagine that all of your happiness leaves and goods and possessions and everything leaves you from your heart in the form of white light, and it is given to your mothers, who then become the form bodies of the Buddha's radiating lights. ，Supplicate to the gurus, and then continue. Just as you meditate, bring your mother of this life to Buddhahood through the Tonglen meditation. Do this for uh, you are able to exchange your own happiness for others' suffering. Next is the meditation is the uh, supplication, the meditation on Tonglen for your friends. And then also you should practice, think about uh, kindness and compassion, especially for those who are harmful to you. ，Think that by doing the sending and taking meditation, they are satisfied and they are placed in the state of Buddhahood. ，should meditate until you have great equanimity for all sentient beings. No bias toward any sentient being. That is not just from your mouth, but from the depths of your heart. Next is a meditation on summarizing the meaning of all of these. ，Meditate first on the four preliminaries of the precious human body that is difficult to find, death and impermanence, karma, cause and effect, and the defects of samsara. Then meditate upon the Guru Yoga, supplicate the Guru, exchange self for others, and then maintain a non-conceptual equipoise. ，Think that there is nothing more definitive than this, and so that, and therefore practice this Dharma of the Mahayana earnestly. ，Now after this, I'm going to continue with the transmission of the jewel ornament of liberation, picking up from where we left off yesterday. This is in the question in this chapter on the precious human body. That now we've come to the section on faith, which is the mental support. As it is said, if you do not have faith, then the positive qualities will not arise in your being. So, what is faith, you ask? There are three types of faith. There's a faith of belief, the faith of longing, and sincere faith. Faith of belief is believing in karma cause and effect, in karmic cause and effect, and then believing the truth of origin. Next is a question, a description of what the origin of suffering is. Sincere faith is being willing to entrust yourselves to the sources of refuge, the three jewels. The Buddha, who is the one who teaches the path, Dharma, that is the path, and the companions on the path, the Sangha, is to have longing for them and respect. As it says in the Abhidharma, what is faith? It is belief in cause and in action and result, in the truths, and in the three jewels. It is longing, and it is a clear mind. Next, there's several quotations supporting this from the treatises. ，Next is a section discussing the unlimited benefits of having such faith. It is the it is the development of the attitude of a great being. It helps you abandon the unleisured states. It makes your faculties sharp and clear, and it keeps your discipline pure, and it suppresses the afflictions, and so forth. This now he is reading the translation for the colophon of the second chapter. The third chapter is the chapter on the condition, the spiritual master. And so once one has that support, the excellent human body, if you are not encouraged by the condition, the spiritual master, because of your habituation to previous bad acts, and because of the thick imprints, you will it'd be difficult to enter the path to enlightenment. Therefore, you must serve the spiritual master. ，To give some analogies, the spiritual master is like when someone is going on a path that they do not know, they're like the guide. When someone is going through a fearful area, they're like an escort. When you're crossing a river, they're like a ferryman. Next, he is currently reading the descriptions, the detailed descriptions of these three analogies. ，Now he's just reading the section on the second analogy, the analogy of the escort in a terrifying place. Terrifying place is a place where there are thieves or carnivorous beasts and so forth who will harm you. If you do not have an escort when going through such a place, there's a danger for your body, your life, or your possessions. But if you have a strong escort and you have no worries, ，Now he's reading the section describing the third analogy, crossing the the river on a ferry. When you are crossing a great river, if you do not have a ferryman, even if you get into a boat or onto a raft, it is very difficult. Before you get to the other side, you will fall on the path and drown, or fall into the river or drown, or else you will be taken away by the water. But if you have a ferryman, because of their efforts, you'll be able to get to the other side. Now there are descriptions of the different types of spiritual masters. There's the spiritual master who is an ordinary individual, the spiritual master who is a bodhisattva, a spiritual master who is and a spiritual master who is a Nirmanakaya of the Buddha, and there is a spiritual master who is the Sambhogakaya of the Buddha. For all of these, for ordinary people, the one who is kindness is the one who is the ordinary individual, because that is the spiritual master we have the ability to meet. As Karmapa says, when we are in the dark of the early stages of the path, we are unable to meet the other types of spiritual masters. I was describing the qualities of spiritual masters who are on the 8th bodhisattva level and higher, who have powers over their lifespan, their intentions, their possessions, the karma or actions, their birth, their interests, their aspirations, miracles, wisdom, and dharma, and so forth. Now there is a description of each of these in order. An ordinary being, spiritual master, should have 8 qualities, or else 4 qualities, or 2 qualities. The first of these, from the levels of the Bodhisattva by Asanga, says if they have the 8 qualities, and what are the 8 qualities? That have discipline, that they are learned in the Bodhisattva scriptures, that they have realization, that they have compassion and affection, that they are fearless, that they have patience, and that they are not depressed, and that they are able to speak eloquently. The second, according to the ornament of the sutras, is that they have given up doubt in the vast, and so forth. I was talking about the different ways to serve the spiritual master by giving respect and service, by having devotion and longing and devotion for them, and by practice. And of the two, service, how do you serve? The service is by prostrating, by rising quickly, bowing to them, circumambulating them, always speaking to them with longing, and always looking at them over and over again with a mind that cannot be satiated. As described in the sutras, with for example, the story of the merchant Bunursang. If you are respectful to your spiritual master, you will achieve Buddhahood, it is said, as talked about in the life stories. It's in the story of Paljung. If you're respectful to the spiritual master, then you will achieve the enlightenment of all the Buddhas. benefits of serving the spiritual master are then described, and then that completes this chapter on the serving on the condition the spiritual master. And so here, the first plans for the conference on the jewel ornament of libertation were to go through as far as the condition on the spiritual master, but there's a danger that we might have to change it. We might have to decrease the meta, and we might have to continue with a few of them next year. And the reason is, though we have the wish to go from the beginning to the end, it will take of this in the conference. It will take some time. So it's not certain that we'll be able to get to the section on the spiritual friend. But the main thing is we want to have a full discussion and a profound description. It's important that we put the effort into making this happen. So it's better that we not hurry things. And some of the subjects that we have prepared this year, we might need to, it's possible that we might need to describe those in future years. In any case, if we're thinking about the different shadows have sent various the 9 different shadows had sent 9 presenters who are sharp and intelligent. And they came to Juta and Dharamsala, and they put a lot of work in over those 2 months. And we read the entire Jewel Ornament of Liberation from the beginning to the end. We also looked at we looked at the collected works of Karmapa's actual disciples, Jusum Khyentse and Jidin Gon, and so forth, Pagmodupa. Now there are also many different editions of the Jewel Ornament of Liberation, and so we compared the different editions and researched the differences. Following that, we looked for the different sources of the citations. We looked for the sources for the citations that are cited in the Jewel Ornament of Liberation in the Tibetan scriptures to see whether they're present there. And we see what volume, what sutra, and what page all of them are, and we have presenting these all covered. So we've been looking for the sources for citations. Likewise, there are some citations that are not present in the Tibetan canon, but that might be in the scriptures in other languages, and we researched this as well. In any case, we've done a bit of research on this. And so following this, there are the geshe, the Haram geshes at Juta, from 6 different Gelugpa monasteries, such as Serje, Serme, and Drepung, and from Losaling at Drepung, and from the Gomang monastery, and so forth. So there are many great Halaram Geshes who stay there. So we invited some of these Halaram Geshes together, and they had discussions with our Shadra students and teachers. And so there's the opportunity to discuss doubts and to try to resolve doubts. And so for this reason, actually, as I mentioned to them, this year we had the Vinaya conference for 2 years. Then we had a uh, three, three vows, and so now the most important or the most well known now is the conference we're having now on the jewel ornament of liberation. They even went to go visit the Dalai Lama under the name of the uh, Jewel Ornament of Liberation Committee. And so you have to be careful. Otherwise, I said to them, you have to be careful. Otherwise, you'll be very well known. And if you don't do well, then you'll be a disgrace. But they have really done very good preparations. And so for that reason, I don't have much worry about it. In any case, what during the conference, I will have to do the fire puja for the Akshobhyasid. And so they're doing the recite, uh, and they'll be doing they have been doing the approach mantra for that, and now they've come to the end of that, and they will have to then do this fire offering from the time of this. Now the conference comes at the same time as this, and so I may not be able to attend the entire conference. And so and I won't necessarily see everything that the confreres do, but the Kempos likewise, and particularly since this year we're having the Jewel Ornament of Liberation conference, we have invited several masters from the other Kadri lineages to come in, so that they may be interested and feel welcomed in a few of these. Sometimes conferences begin with everyone getting along and then end up with everyone fighting. And so we don't want that to happen. We want this to become like an ornament of the teachings. And I have the great hope and the confidence that this will turn out well. In any case, the conference is not for my sake. It is for the sake of serving the teachings and bringing happiness to beings. And so I have great confidence that it will turn out well. Now, also, as I mentioned yesterday, there's the instructions on the 4 sessions of Guru Yoga. And I thought I would teach those tomorrow. I'll just give a brief one. I'm not able to give a long instruction on them. And then on the 11th, and on the 11th, we will complete the teaching on the 100 short instructions on the 11th, and that's just for this year, setting it aside for this year, so we will conclude that on the 11th. Now I haven't anything else to say in particular. Today, as just a auspicious beginning, I spoke a bit with the Kempos and so forth and others about the subject of Tantra. And so this is for the Kempos and those who have completed the Shedra. It is important for them, I think it is important for them to take interest in the subject of Tantras. The reason is that in general, the Tibetan Buddhism and that we have the Pratimoksha teachings, the teachings of Bodhisattva, and the secret mantra of Vajrayana. And basically, Tibetan Buddhism has the practice, the complete practice of all the vehicles of Buddhism, without differentiating between that about lower and small and the sutras and tantras. And this is a feature of Tibetan Buddhism, but it's a difficult one. The practice of the three vehicles is not something that should be practiced by three different individuals, but instead this is practicing it as one individual who can practice it in its entirety. This is a feature of Tibetan Buddhism, and it's also the most difficult part of Tibetan Buddhist practice, because the main point of the practice is the practice of the three vows. And when we're keeping the three vows, then sometimes sometimes when we come to the gray areas in between the two, or the areas where they come into conflict, if we do not know the differentiations between the vows, then if we act in accordance with the Pratimoksha vows, then we can break our Bodhisattva vows. Or if we practice in harmony with the tantric vows, and we might break the individual liberation vows, and so forth. And so mainly we practice the secret mantra of Vajrayana. There are the teachings of all of there are many different teachings and instructions in the in the tantras that have been passed down since Marpa the translator till now. But there's very little of it is left. But what does remain, we need to preserve. This is one of our primarily responsibilities. When we talk about the Kaju school, then the name primarily comes from the instructions on the tantras, and the instructions and the practice of these. And so, in that respect, it is something that we all need to put effort into, and we all need to take interest in. And so, for that reason, please take interest in this. Now, I already spoke quite about this from 2 o'clock. And now there's still more left in it. But we will just leave it there now.